Good morning, everyone, and welcome to GPA Trading Services live trading class on this Tuesday, March the 3rd, 2026. As you know, today is Tuesday, Gary's Market Forecast, or GMF. It's the heads up on what's going down in the markets. But first, we have very specific rules of engagement. Those include the following. Do not trade with money you cannot afford to lose. Always trade with protective stops. Make certain the 4-hour, the 1-hour, the 30, and the 15-minute time frames align prior to trading with the MPA PE5 version 5.0 software. Also adhere to very strict money management rules, which includes never risking more than 2% of your entire account balance on any one given trade. For options friends, never risk more than 5% of your entire account balance on any one given options trade. And finally, all information provided by GPA Trading Services is for your educational purposes. So please give us a moment as we open up the charts. All right, ladies and gentlemen, picking up with the dollar index on the monthly chart. High-level overview, wave 1 is done, working on wave 2. Eventually, we're going to bottom and reverse. We are getting a little bounce. We kind of talked about the last few weeks that we're probably going to go up and push a little bit more. Do we stop and come back to a new low, or do we actually start breaking out? We got some critical levels to watch, which we're going to go over. But remember, there is a big short squeeze up here around that 102 area. And if we can start to get toward that 102 area, then we might see this thing pop up to that 105, maybe even 107 area. So it could be this is going to break, but I'm not convinced. We saw this last time. We still made a new low. Not convinced this is it for many reasons we've been discussing for several weeks now. So let's jump into the charting platform. And we can see we're up near the prior high, testing that now. And I think this has a lot to do with what's going on in Iran and the Middle East, that this is pushing higher at the moment, but we shall see. But last time we hit this level, we reversed. We came up and hit this level multiple times, and we reversed. So we still got a big resistance zone up here. So this was the target zone we had talked about last couple of weeks, that this looked like a B, C, and this looks like it's on its last little legs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and maybe we test this zone. So I'm going to move this up to where the real big resistance starts, and that's where we're starting to touch now, up until this prior multiple test. 1 failed, 2 failed, 3 failed. So is the fourth time is going to happen? Well, I'm still looking for an opportunity for this thing to start pulling back. If you'll recall from our conversation that we said, in order for us to start really getting bullish on this, we need to see this thing break above the Magic Fibo, come back and retest it, then go breaking out, and that's kind of where that 102 is sitting up here. If we can get up near that 101.50, 102, that's where the short squeeze, especially at 102, and that could hit a lot of people's stop losses and force this thing to go popping. But again, I'm not convinced that this is fait accompli, and this thing's definitely going up there, even though we had some very strong days coming into here, aka war going on right now. That kind of pushed it. But we've seen a few times where we had a big surge up, we failed. Surge up, we failed. So this is not a given. We had talked about that daily cycling, and we were engage, disengage. And another reason is this A, B, C type of move to finish that last down move is typically not the way that finishes. So please be careful on this. We expected this was likely going to push just to go testing this. And we're in the critical zone now. So if you're long on this bounce, definitely be in a position of authority. because the software is setting up that we are likely going to see the daily reversal coming soon. And we talked about this weeks ago. We want to sell that D1 PAI hook from overbought territory, which you can see we're getting deeper and deeper into that zone as we're getting into the resistance zone up here. So I would definitely be in a position of authority. And do we turn over and cycle down, or do we turn over to slingshot higher and start reaching that 102, hit the short squeeze? And that's logical. We could probably pop to maybe 105, maybe even higher if we hit that short squeeze. But that is a big if. So ladies and gentlemen, please be in a position of authority on this bounce. So go back to the charting, and we could see why that we see yesterday we hit the Magic Fibo, pull back. Today we kind of tested it and we're popping. But again, say the war ends tomorrow, next day, maybe this thing will start plummeting off of this big run into this move. But big question is, does the chart make what happens, or what happens make the chart? That's a conundrum, because I ponder about that all the time, where certain things are setting up on the chart, and then it's because of something happens that ultimately plays out. So the technical picture generally will always play out. The question is this one going to break? And this could be the end, because we have to keep in mind that this right here is supposed to end. And at some point, we definitely go breaking out. And this reversal is going to be a thing of beauty when it actually takes place. As to Tucson and others, we're talking about this 130 to 140 area, these upper two levels up here. 130, 140 is what we're talking about. That's a big move, ultimately where we think we're headed. The question is that enough to end that wave two for us to go up there, or do we still need a little bit more downside? So up and until price proves it, just because we're running hot a few days here into the zone where we kind of felt we needed to go anyway, based on price action, is not conducive to this is definitely that reversal breakout. So this is why I like coming to the monthly chart. Even though on the daily chart it looks like it's just smoking hot, it's just barely in chop zone still. See? We came down, we chop, we pop, we drop, we chop. Is this the last pop and one more drop? That might be. So I'm still looking for our opportunity to sell this PAI hook. So remember how you do that? You go into your expert advisor and you go to properties and you set up a stop loss, take profits, whatever you think's appropriate for your particular account. And we're looking for a what? Right here. Use trade trigger long? No, we want to use trade trigger short. That's what we're looking for, as we're getting overbought. The PAI and the trend momentums are getting overbought. And when that happens, we look for a trigger opportunity for this to go down based on this hook. So we want to sell that PAI hook from overbought territory. So if you're not able to be at your computer when that happens, you can set the system to do it for you. Or if you're at your computer and you see this PAI starts hooking downward, this red, blue, and green that are still up, that's not a short. It's waiting for this to turn and hook. When that happens, then you can sell it. So that's the plan. So I'm going to say okay and go into ready to trade mode. And we look for this thing to sell back down. And then once we get into a sell position, we're going to do what? Get to a position of authority. And if this turns out that this is the low, unlikely like it is, then so be it. Then we reverse and we look for 102. It hits that. We go up to 105, 107. So this thing could possibly keep going a little bit more, and it could turn over and we could get a pullback and then a continuation, or it's going to do one of two things. This is either going to turn over to slingshot higher, or it's going to turn over to cycle down and we'll likely get a new low. So we'll see what happens. Looking at the weekly chart, we have the weekly kind of, it was engaged, disengaged, engaged, went from a slingshot down to up, and it's just kind of chopping and grinding. It is starting to turn back up, so maybe we get a little bit more of this where we go test that Magic Fibo on the weekly chart, which is still below that 102 level. And we got the top of the cloud right around that 102 level. So maybe we kind of navigate into this cloud a little bit. Weekly finishes, then we get a weekly / daily cycle down. So this is telling us, Emil, even if this is going to ultimately go breaking out, we're going to have some big down pull on that eventually when we get the weekly and the daily topping out together and pulling down. So this is not a given that this weekly has to cycle all the way up here for the next few weeks. Not a given at all. What happens if the war ends tomorrow or this afternoon they surrender? Internal matrix of Iran flushes out the wrath of the regime and they take over. Then I think this would pull back just on the news alone. So we shall see. And plus, it doesn't make sense when we're spending all this money and we've got so much debt as it is that we just keep spending that many more billions to trillions. And this thing's going to say, okay, well, we keep spending trillions of dollars we don't have. This thing's going to strengthen your dollar. I think the reason it's popping a little bit is that people believe that this is oil prices are going up, causing a little inflation. You know, prices going up. Well, we know why that can happen, and we're going to go over that when we hit oil. But inflationary price, well, that means the Fed's not going to cut rates. There's no way the Fed's going to cut rates this year. Well, anything can happen. So if that's what this run is based on, lack of cutting interest rates, which does strengthen your currency versus when you are cutting it. That's why when they started that cut cycle, the dollar started breaking down. So we shall see, but I would definitely be careful because we running into big resistance up here from not only the tip of the cloud on the weekly, but up to the Magic Fibo up here, and then even toward the top of the cloud where that 102 area is. So basically this pink box is appropriate for what price is running into. Pink for resistance. And we're getting the daily overbought, weekly's getting closer. We might end up with a weekly and a daily starting to cycle back down. Fair enough? But there you have it. Notice, Magic Fibo. I finally tweaked my Magic Fibo to get it to a solid line so it matches Ninja Trader, solid lines. And I can show you one that's a much thicker one, like on the pound yen. That's how we like it. So there you have it. I'll be including that new attachment for this so that yours will match mine. So we can do it one of two ways. We'll do it later this week, where I'll just give it through the class and then you can install it in your platform. And I'll show you how to do it until I can recreate a total new and install file that'll include it. But I'm trying to tweak a few things other than this before I do. But I will give you the opportunity to add it to your profiles so yours will match mine. Fair enough? All righty. So Magic Fibo, Magic Fibo. So in closing, is this the end of wave 2? We're ready to go breaking out. Still not convinced, even though this is a nice little reversal. We were looking for this. Are we going to break this resistance zone and go up and push the 102, hit the short squeeze and push this higher? We still got to get up from the recent high to low, we still got to get up above that 107 area to kind of set the tone we're going higher, which is a considerable amount higher. Amen? So not only do we running into resistance, but looking at the charting platform, look at that bigger picture. This is a nice little bounce. We've seen it, but look at what it has to come into play. This 105 to 107 level is the prior high to low. That's my 618786 zone. And a lot of times, these markets can pull us back like this, go up and test that and still fail. So even though this thing goes ripping and you think, yeah, this is definitely that wave 2 over, we still got to clear this final hurdle. Once we do that, then we start talking about a 75% chance we go up to 112, 113, and a 70 plus we go to 114, which is right at the prior swing point high over here. So this doesn't guarantee we're breaking to new highs, but we clear this hurdle, and it's very much likely that's the end of that wave 2. So you see the big picture, high, well, from this low to that high, this is the original target where we talked about here in the lower 80s down to 80 area. And we got the low, we got the high. We did break below the 618 for a period. We never broke the 786 below this 94 and change. And that would set the tone. We're probably going to come down to the mid 80s. And I'm still, because we did close below, you may have 75% chance we still need a new swing point low over here. Well, we get below this one, then we got a big time chance we're coming down to the mid 80s. But that's a big if. So is this thing over, or is this just more of this corrective slop? And we need this ultimate low we were looking for before we reverse. Pay me now, pay me later. Even if we come down here, it will reverse and go breaking out. And even if we come down here into lower 80s, I'm still thinking when we reverse, we're going at 130, 140. That's where we're headed. The question is, have we bottomed to reverse, or is just another little push before we continue this grind lower? Eventually, it's going to end and we will go up here. This is the plan, longer term. Shorter term, is this bounce the beginning of this? Or is this bounce another fizzle manizzle and we still keep pushing lower? So we got two targets, one to the upside, long term, which eventually will play out. In the short term, we still have a target to the downside. We just got to get through resistance. If that happens, then we hit the 102 level. Expect we hit 102. We're going to hit that short squeeze and expect this thing is going to go popping. I would expect nonetheless that we hit 102 and start closing up at that 102 area. That short squeeze is going to start popping in big time, like maybe the popping we're hearing over in the Middle East. And this thing is going to go soaring. In my humble opinion, it would go up here toward that 104 to 107 level. But that's where we begin the true test. So all this is smaller tests. That's the granddaddy of them. As we start breaking above this big one, then I think it's over, and we could call this low here over, and we do start working on our way. It'll probably take several years. I wouldn't think we're going to go straight from this rate to 130, 140 in a matter of a day or two or a few months. Probably take a few years, right? So big picture, like we talked about, this big reversal, not only that one, but this major reversal here over 3+ years ago in 2022, when I made a bold statement that we would get a big pullback, and it would not necessarily mean we're going to definitely make new lows, but we look for a decent pullback off of that much bigger picture, which that was just the COVID low over here. We're talking the much bigger picture low down over here in 2007, 2008, around that 70, or even this one here in 11 and 73 zone. So yeah, is it the pullback 618786 retracement off of that? Or is this the one where we hit the 786618 type of retracement and that's it? So it's possible this is over, that we met this one and we didn't ultimately go to this next low. And then we got this low over here in 14, then 11. And this is the original low we talked about, 2008, basically, early 2008. And that was the one where we would look for a deep retracement, and that would put us right at 80, right? Remember, that's where that comes from. So is this going to be the deeper retracement on this bigger time? Or is this the one that's ultimately playing out? And we're already in that 618786 and we're ready to reverse now. Again, with the pay me now, pay me later, even if this turns out where we do go visit this mid 80s or lower 80 area, the plan is still to go up to 130, 140. Well, what if it's not and it's off of this low, Harold, and we're in the 618786 zone and we're bouncing? The target is still the same up here. So it's just a matter of where do we finally reverse to go breaking out. So if we're using our Fibo and it is this, and we do go breaking out, here's the target. Or if we end up making a push down into the mid to low 80s off of this scenario, where we get the 618786 type of move on that larger degree, the target's still the same up here. So please keep that in mind. You could even put that on your chart where you have a big bubble up at the 130, 140. And let's just see, do we get the 618786, which I originally was thinking was the case? We would get it here. Or in fact, is it going to end up, it's from the COVID low over here, which we're already in that 618786 zone. We haven't taken out the 786 at this 9450 area, but we did get into the 95 area. So we're pretty close to that 786. And just because it's bouncing doesn't mean, well, that's a done deal. Got it? So what are we saying? Here's your target. Pay me now, pay me later. Probably take a few years to get up here. The question is this the end? And we're ready to go breaking out now, or we're going to fizzle again and push lower? Whereas we continue to look at this on a smaller scale, we do have that massive resistance up here at that 107 level, that bigger degree. You come to the 3-day, which you can see a little bit easier from the recent high to low. This is critical in relation to the 3-wave correction. If this is over, then we should go breaking this to shoot for these targets, which is right at our highs, and we start working on new highs. So the big one is up here at that 105, 107, 104, 107 area. In the short term, we're hitting massive resistance now as the dollar has been soaring right into it. So I'm just stretching this out for you. And notice what's happening on the surge is we're seeing some resistance start to kick in a little bit. That doesn't mean this is definitely ready to revert. We did this the other day. We hit the Magic Fibo, we pulled back, then we went soaring today. But again, it could be instant where this thing just plummets. We've seen it before. We're testing this level, and just because the wick went above it, that's why we wait for daily candle bodies to close. And if we do close above this 99.50 area, end of day, candle body, not the wick, then it looks like we might go test this 100 and maybe even this 101 and change, which is the big resistance, shorter term resistance, right? Everybody good so far? So is this the beginning of that ABC and we're done? Or do we actually go breaking out? So the bias is I would be in a position of authority and I'm looking for the software to trigger lower coming on the daily chart. and we go in ready to trade mode. Remember, when you change time frames, it automatically turns that off in case you were deciding you were trading a different scenario. That's by design. But I'm in this ready to trade mode. I'm looking when the PAI hooks, expect we're going to get a pullback. Is it a pullback to higher low than higher high? Or is it in fact one of these that sets the tone and we go making lower low like the last ones? We got out trigger, went lower, got out trigger, went lower. Now we're looking for a trigger to go lower. And the question is, will we make that lower low? I'm still leaning more that direction than the breakout, even though long term, I say we're going to 130, 140. Got it? So we got to force price to prove itself. And this was expected. Kind of as we were chopping, and I kind of even related it back over here where we had this three-wave correction and we had some strong green candles in there, kind of mimic what we're doing there, Harold. And then we ultimately made a new low. And then this one was chopping and overlapping, and we ultimately made a new low. And now we got this last three-wave type of move down that typically is not the end of the run, and you get a massive reversal. This looks still corrective, and we're going right to the zone we look for it to go to. And are we ready for this to reverse? That's kind of the plan. So sell that PAI hook from overbought territory. And if you're not at your computer, you're ready to trade mode, this thing will automatically tell you. And you see, we just got a profit trigger fire as we're speaking. What are profit triggers? When you start getting in overbought territory, it's warnings that you need to take profits because we're expecting some sort of either pullback and or reversal. So we got this last time, and then it spiked one more time, and then it reversed. So this is why you need to be in a big time position of authority on this rally, and you look for this to reverse. Fair enough? All righty. Let's continue. What about our currency pairs? Euro went like we expected. Look at the support zone. That was the support zone, and we can stretch this down to where the prior price action, stair step, bounce, bounce, bounce. We've been bouncing off the Magic Fibo. Well, this is today, and it looks like, well, we just shattered that Magic Fibo to the downside. What's where this candle body closes? It's not the size of the wick. A lot of times you can get a big wick and this thing even turns green, and that's a big time reversal sign that this thing is ready to go. So we're looking to buy this dip on the euro dollar, just like we're looking to sell the rally on the dollar index. And what's the plan when we buy the dip? Get to a position of authority. And yes, if this plays out as expected, we should go on and make new highs and go higher. So this should be the reversal. The question is the dollar finish going up and starting to reverse back, which would force this euro going down to stop going down and reverse going back up. Position of authority is the key. So here it is on the euro dollar. We have the complete opposite of the dollar index. Now we're getting oversold on the daily. So what do we want to do here? We want to buy this dip. If you short the euro, it's already telling you, it's built into the software, hey, you see those fire and you're in the short position. That means that's another warning. Be in a position of authority. This thing could be ready to reverse. Could be ready to reverse. So there you have it. So what do? You go to the expert advisor, properties, and you set up your stop loss take profits. If this thing does reverse and we go breaking out, we're talking hundreds of pips. So I'll put maybe 150 stop loss, give it a little wiggle room. I'll go 300, 600. And let's get the numbers, 14 to 21, that's about 700. And if it breaks the high to those next targets, that would put us around that 123. So make that about 900. How about those numbers? 369. There you go. 2-to-1 profit ratio margin right there. Risk to reward ratio. And if it hits the take profit 2 and 3, then you're talking 4-to-1, 5-to-1. Could be a big one. So what do you do? Oh, I forgot to show you. I think it's already set. But you go back to your properties. Once you get your take profits and your areas taken, we want to come in here, trigger long. Yes. Trigger short. No. So you double click, get this little box, you turn that to false. Do I want a slingshot long? We're already extreme sold condition, so we're likely going to get a PAI hook, not a slingshot back up. So I would say no to slingshots, and I simply want to trigger long, trigger short, no, slingshot long, no, slingshot short, no. It's simply true, false. Any trigger is a good trigger, good to go, and say okay. And then all you do is click ready to trade mode. And the beauty of this thing could take a couple of more days. And then when it finally PAI hooks, you get your trigger long, it'll automatically enter for you. Harold, what if I come back and I see my PAI is hooking and I'm not in ready to trade mode? Then I just do click to buy, right? So whether it's officially triggered and entered for you, or you come to your charting platform, you say, yep, that daily, buy that P1 PAI hook is hooked. Then I just turn it on, go to the ready position, and I click right now, click to buy. So we can expect that this is going to give us a reversal in the coming days. This could go lower. What if it goes lower for 3 or 4 more days and this thing just pushes? Then it hooks. It'll enter when you finally get the PAI to hook. Fair enough? All righty. So back to the lesson at hand. This is a big time support zone. We've tested it multiple times as we've been climbing higher. And this is the exact inverse of the dollar, where we had this little 3-wave correction going up. And that typically does not end in a bullish cycle where we're ultimately bouncing on the euro, just like the dollar 3-wave down is typically not a reversal. This is typically, so I've been saying, I don't think the dollar low is done. I don't think this euro swing point high up here at 121 area is where we are upper 120s, and we're 120 and change, like 120.80. Let's get the official one on this platform. It is 120.82. 120.82. So I don't think that 120.82 is necessarily the end. That I think this is going to bounce and still go higher, because I think the dollar is going to reverse and still go lower. Because again, it's look like a little 5-wave up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and kind of a grind, and then bigger A, B, C. And typically you don't top and reverse on a 3-wave correction. You typically end at an ending diagonal / a 5-wave impulsive move, and then you start to reverse. So again, I question this. So if you're short this euro, which we expected it to come down in this area, then I would definitely be in a position of authority, and I'm looking to buy this dip. Got it? That's the plan. Pound yen, kind of ditto. Expected it to come down and test this area. We're kind of close to it. Here's the big support zone. When this was already near the Magic Fibo, I expected this to do. But even yesterday, look how long that wick was on the pound. And where did the candle body close? Right on our Magic Fibo. And you go, well, this is definitely telling us right here that because we close right there on the Magic Fibo, that Magic Fibo is done. No. Yes, we got a nice little push lower off of it, but it's not an end of the day close. Let's see if we get a big rejection wick and we close back up here. That could set the tone. We're going higher. Just like the euro, I don't think this pound ends here either. For that same reason, kind of that 3-wave correction. And that doesn't look like it's done. and the bigger move. Because he said, well, what if this is how else does it look like? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C. Still would end up in a 3-wave. So I don't see this as just a 5-wave looking like that. Wave 1, wave 2, wave 3. This is wave 4. That's wave 5. Maybe, but I don't think so. And even on the way down, this is looking suspect that we certainly going to need a bounce regardless. So if we're wrong and the dollar is ready to go blasting off and the euro and the pound are ready to go tanking, we're going to get a correction off of that move. That's a hardy move down, and we're going to get a correction back up. So Emil, what happens when we go long here? I'm looking for new highs. When this thing reverses, I'm looking to go new highs. But you know the rule. You can take the prior, and let me move some of these lines, and I'll put some fresh ones on here for you. But we can take the 2.2, and we go from the high down to the low. And if this bounce, we would expect this to make a run back toward 136, and we're at 132, 133. So we're talking a few hundred pips when this thing starts to correct. Even if it is, this is the end, my friends, and this is just a correction for a continuation, we're due for a nice little bounce. Amen? So again, you're short this pound dollar, great. It went down several hundred points. We expected that during this bigger correction. From the low up to the high, we're testing that 618,786 zone off of that, as you can see right in this area. So this is the zone we're watching, and I'm looking for that reversal. Even if this is a lower high, lower low scenario, which I don't think it is, I think this is part of the bigger 618 type of retracement reversal. The question is it over? We shall see. Amen? So be careful. If you're short, I would definitely be in a position of authority. And when the daily reverses and the PAI hooks, I'm going to scalp that back to the upside, get to a position of authority. And I would expect once the reversal starts, we're going to make a run back toward probably that 136 minimum. Well, what happens if we do that and we start closing above that 136, 137, which is my 618,786, then it's back to our original targets, 139, 140, which we reached one of them, and we're looking for the second one to continue. Amen? So again, be careful. Yes, this could go lower, the dollar could go higher, but this also could be bottoming and reversing, and I'm looking to do the same, just like we're doing on the euro. I'm looking to do ditto on the pound dollar as this is pushing lower, finishing that cycle. So when this turns and hooks, we're going to buy that, get to a position of authority. Amen. So rinse and repeat. Expert advisor, a lot of things are setting up. Go in here, 100, 200, 300. You can increase that and do maybe 200. 400, 600, or even if it goes breaking out to the new highs, we're talking excess of 600 to 800. So maybe we do the same. How about the 369, 300, 600, 900. And then we come down here. What are we looking for? I want to trigger a long. Right there, trigger long, yes. Trigger short, no. Slingshot, nothing but a trigger long is what we're looking for when we're oversold, and we look for the PAI to hook. So manually, if you don't want to use automated, you just simply, when the PAI hooks, you go up here into ready to trade mode, and then you click to buy. Otherwise, you can set the parameters, and then like Ron Popeil, set it and forget it. Ready to trade mode. This thing will reverse when we trigger long. And just like it does trigger short, trigger long. And when do you get the triggers? Beautiful moves. Overbought, trigger, oversold, trigger, overbought, oversold, overbought, oversold, overbought. So you continue, and this the next one's setting up for low, high, higher low. Potential is higher high. That's what we're thinking. So I want to wait for this to turn, and then I buy. Again, no buy, sell to hold. I can't tell you what to do. That's my plan. That's what I'm doing. I'm expecting this will not likely be the end of the high, and we're ready to go to new lows. But I do think we're going to make another new high before we're done. But hey, it is what it is. And ultimately, we need to come back to that bigger picture. And I know I got a lot of stuff on here, just ignore that. But we were never expecting the pound to reverse here. Actually, that's a daily chart. So back over here, I'm way back in time. Let me refresh that. There we go. And we were never expecting the pound to go reversing and breaking out to new highs. We're expecting this to ultimately push, and that's part of that correction. And then we're going to get that last surge, because that was the plan, that eventually we're going to end and make some new lows, right? So this plan was never, and this is just some targets I put in here, so just ignore what you see on here. But this was part of that correction. Eventually it's going to end, and we were like, well, where should we go? Where should we go? Are we going to come up here and go there, or are we going to end here and go down? Well, all roads lead to, even though I think we're still going to go higher, all roads lead to, even if we go way up here, we're going to make a new low. So this is that bigger A, B, C correction. And the bigger move, that's what we're looking for. So come back over here to the weekly on the euro. This is what we've been planning for the last multiple years. We're looking for a bigger correction to ultimately start that last push, and then we get another reversal. So this was never, again, for the euro to go breaking out to all-time highs. It was simply a correction and a continuation down. Fair enough? All righty. So let's end up and finish this. So could we go lower? Yes. Are we likely to go breaking the new lows? No. Right? We're talking what happened 3 years ago, way down here at 103, 103.93 was the low. And I made a bold statement back here in 22 that there's a great time to go long the pound dollar, because we're expecting a big correction. And yes, it is a correction. Is it stopping here to go lower, or are we going to go a little higher to go lower? Still think that is definitely the plan, where we're going to go lower longer term. When the dollar goes shooting up to that 130, 140 target, that's going to put the pound and the euro and those at some new lows, but it could be years from now. The question is the dollar bottomed and reversing, or is this just another rally to fizzle, and this is just another pullback for us to continue this journey? And we got a lot of them along the way. That's just typical price action, where we got these pullbacks, we grind, we got a bigger pullback when it looked like, man, this thing is over. It's like, nope, keep buying, keep buying. Here's another opportunity, get to your position of authority. And at some point, this thing will end. Is it at 138? 139, 140? Do we get up here toward 147, maybe 150? Well, from that high to this low, we took out the 618, we took out the 786. So even though we're getting strong decline, there's still a high percentage that we still could go much higher. Amen. So this is why I don't think it's the end yet. Well, what does that mean when a 75% chance? That means 25% of the time it's not going to work. But I like the odds of 75 taking that type of trade than taking the 25 more often, obviously. Any questions? So be careful on this little retracement, that I think it's going to give us a bounce, So be in a position of authority. And in my humble opinion at this point, I think the bounce will grind its way to new highs as opposed to a lower high, lower low. But it doesn't matter what price does, right? We get to our position of authority on the long trade like we've been numerous times and making hundreds of pips, tallying thousands of pips off of the reversal. This is just another one of those. And if we're wrong and we only rally, make us to a position of authority, makes hundreds of more pips, and then it fails, then so be it. But this doesn't look complete just yet. I still think we get one more surge up, but we're going to get it one way or the other. Amen? So that's where the software comes in. And I'm looking for this reversal to see, do we go from the high to the low? Do we break the 618 and get to that 136 and above to set the tone we're going to 140 and higher? Or do we just rally toward that 136 up here and fail and end up with a 618 retracement and yet another push lower? Amen? That's why I'm waiting for the software to do its thing and let it do what it does. And that's make hundreds and thousands of pips. All righty. What about the euro yen? The markets are coming back down. I warned you about these the other day, last few weeks. We have a monthly overbought, weekly overbought. And even though we got these stair steps, what did we do? Get to your position of authority, you get pipped out, get back in. That the high probability is to come toward the Magic Fibo. And that's where I think we're headed. Once we get down here, we'll probably bounce again, maybe lower high, lower low. But we shall see. This does not look complete. And we're likely going to make a new low. But I would expect to find some support where you're seeing it from the recent low, which looks like, I guess that one there is very close to this recent high. Guess what we're hitting? 618786. So this is going to be a critical close. So let me take some of these off so I can put a fresh one on here for you. So everybody's looking at the same thing. Take that off. I'll take all these upper targets off for the moment. And we can do this tool we call the 2.2 or the 3.2, the Fibonacci retracement / extension. In this 3.2, if this is the high and that's the low and that's the lower high, guess where that's showing up? Right at the Magic Fibo. Isn't that a thing of beauty? Gorgeous thing of beauty. Well, what is this? What if this is the bullish move? That's a little three-wave correction and we're ready to go breaking out. Well, this is why on this current one, you see where the target is, and then why this level right now is so important. So you stretch that out, ladies and gentlemen, use your 2-point tool, you come off the low up to the high, and we're testing that 618786 zone right now, which is right here. I'll do it with this guy right there. You can see my 618786. I mean, I just see this in my sleep. I don't even need to put these Fibonacci's on here. I've been doing this for so many decades and using this system. So there you have it. Emil, is this beginning after that three-wave correction? And this is ready to go this breakout? Or do we close below this 182 and set the tone? We're coming down this 180, 179, 178, where that Magic Fibo is sitting. Please be careful. Monthly overbought, weekly overbought, daily, kind of doing its thing. We rallied up. Now we're starting to hook back down. So be careful. We close below 182. It kind of sets the tone. We're going down to 180, 179-ish, basically hovering down toward the Magic Fibo. Fair enough? Everybody good? And what about the pound yen? Kind of ditto. We barely reached, and we talked about this one. This looks like we're getting a correction, and then we're going to fail and come down to the Magic Fibo. So we're in a position of authority. If you scalp that, or you even set it, I expected this, the daily reversal. On the software, we kind of said we're likely going to go test up near this 212 area and likely fail from there and give us that next push lower. So the plan is still to come down here, that 206, 205. And if you scalp this to the upside, I'd definitely be in a position of authority because I do expect this is likely going to break lower. And this does not look like any type of move up in a correction that warrants us breaking out right now. This sets up with the correction to break another new low. Fair enough? And if that doesn't excite you enough, come out to the higher time frame and you look at this back in 2024, the carry trade unwind. This was clearly, I stated in COVID times, hey, you need to go long the pound yen. It's going to make a run of 8 to 10,000 pips. It's going to take a few years, but that's what the plan is on the technical picture. Back here in COVID, it's in the archives, made a bold statement. And sure enough, we said it would go back to this high and make new highs. Hey, ho, ho. And after this here, we got that big impulsive move down. So this is what really excites me toward the downside. After this impulsive move down, you typically, that looks like the beginning of a three-wave correction. All this chopping and overlapping, and even after that surge higher, even though it made a new high, call that an expanded flat correction. That's the B. And this really looks like we need a C to come back down toward these lows and make a new low at least. Amen? So am I guaranteeing it's going to go down thousands of more pips toward this target down here? Well, that's the plan. That's why I've been going short, getting to a position of authority. And if it reverses against me and pips me out for more profit, I go short again, get to position of authority, and it rallies, it pips me out, I go short. I'm still looking for the short side. So I do think there's more downside. Are we going to get to the Magic Fibo on a weekly chart? Maybe. That's right around that 192, 189. On a 3-day chart, Magic Fibo is incredibly important to have on all your chart. 98, 96. And then, of course, on the daily is this 206, 205. You can see the numbers right there reflect this line, which is a critical line of importance for trading. It's a critical support and resistance Fibo level. So in closing, please be careful. Randy and others that maybe love to go long the pound yen, I think we got another flush at least to get this thing. And then we possibly could go bouncing if our markets stop and we go ripping to all-time highs. Doesn't mean this has to go up there, but typically it's risk on, risk off. Our markets are pulling back. The yen tends to strengthen. Our markets are soaring higher. The yen tends to weaken. So that's what this carry trade was all about. You can use a cheap yen to borrow money on the cheap, and then go invest in high probability or high investments like tech, Bitcoin during the Bitcoin run, which we're in the crypto winter now. And I expect that Bitcoin is still going to make another new low. So be careful. And yes, I'm looking for a correction. We'll go over that shortly, but you get the point. So I'm not real bullish on buying this to go breaking out right now. I'm more looking for more downside. Fair enough? All righty. Enough with the currencies. Now let's start with the markets. What about the futures market? Who could have guessed? Who could have thought? Who could have anticipated ES was coming down to the Magic Fibo? I'll just get that out of the way for a second. Didn't mean to move it. Always grabbing and pulling the wrong thing. When you want to move it, it won't move. When you don't want to move it, it grabs it every time. So, Emil, is this the end? And we're ready to go ripping higher? Or do we need new lows? watch this closely. Do we hold and reverse? We're definitely going to go up here. Pay me now, pay me later, but do we get a deeper correction now? Or is this the end? I'm looking for the big bounce, so all roads lead to this pop, right? Whether we go lower first and then we pop. So is this part of that bigger correction that we need this? We made a new low now. Is this the end? Well, this is why I'm watching this, because guess what that is? From that low to our last all-time high up here, that's my 618 bounce. It's a Magic Fibo / 618 bounce, and that's the combo meal. If this plays out, we typically going to make a run toward the 1618. Now this has to hold. We can dip lower, maybe to 66, and we push the limit, but that's still a 618 type bounce, and a Magic Fibo is right in the thick of it. Bounce off of that, that pushes us toward likely high percentage of the time. It not only goes to the 1448, 1272, but it pushes the envelope toward the 1618, toward the top of the bubble up there. Am I guaranteeing this is the end? No, but I kept telling you for weeks during these pops, look out, don't be going long here. We really need this to make a new low. Well, we got it. Is this what we need? Or do we need something bigger? This is why this is important. Emil, what happens if we get a daily candle close below this 6,600? Then we're likely coming down to 64, 60, 64 and change, 63.90 area. From the low to the high, you take out the 618,786, you close below that, that likely means we're going to the extensions. And it may be that the ES not only needs this new low to here, but this is still corrective, and we actually need this new low to then set the chart to go higher. What did I say weeks ago? I can't promise we're coming down to the Magic Fibo, but this would be a perfect area for it to reverse, because it's a 618 / Magic Fibo bounce reversal, which really excites toward the extension up here at the 1618, which again, we're definitely going to get here in my humble opinion. No questions asked. The question is this pullback over, or is this war going to drag on a little longer and then we reverse? Or is this thing going to end today and it reverses? Technical picture says we're looking for a higher low no matter what, and a higher high. Amen? This is not, Elizabeth, I'm coming to join you, honey, and that's the end of the game. Not yet. Still looking for a pullback. Is it here to reverse, or is it here to reverse? We got a lot of our setups based on what this is doing. But the reason I'm not convinced just yet, even though we reached what we were looking for, so if you're short this, definitely be in a position of authority. This thing is likely going to bounce, but does it make a lower high, lower low, or does this thing go hunting? It's the NASDAQ that's kind of leading us in the wrong direction. This thing is screaming, we need a new low, and we're not there yet. Amen? This is overlapping, chopping, grinding, grunting, and this is screaming, we need a new swing point low. So if we start closing, which we're testing, this support zone where we bounced from previously, bounced and bounced, we're touching, see it? Kind of hit this area, bounced, hit the area again, bounced, hit this area again. If we close below this area, that's why I have it as green, we close below that, then it's game on to new lows in the 23,000 / maybe 22 area. And this does not look complete until we get that low. Now just remember, this is big numbers on here. From the prior low of 23.9, and my extension starts about 23,550 and then 23.2, that's hundreds of points lower. Well, the technical picture only needs, Emil, a swing point low, a new low below that. It could be 23,903, just like 1 point below is all it really required. It just needs a new low. But this is a high probability target for it to go to. ES already hit where I wanted. NASDAQ has not. So it's possible ES could go ripping up while NASDAQ still plunges a little bit more. But typically, what's doing it? Is it the war? Is it Gary's God-given talent to read and interpret price on a chart and the technical picture screaming we got to come down here? Or is it our global liquidity? What did I warn us about this? That parabolic move up, we need a correction. I don't think this is the end of the global liquidity. And this is Elizabeth, I'm coming to join you, honey. And here comes the big crash. But what did we warn you? That if we get the Nikkei to pull back, it's going to pull our markets down, ES, NASDAQ, Dow, etc. Right? Look at that. Thing of beauty. So again, I asked that pondering thought. Is it the chart that makes the pattern and makes the outcomes like, the war, etc.? This thing was telling us before we even had this official war scenario the last couple of days. It kind of warned us and said, we need a pullback. And I kept telling you for weeks, ES needs a pullback. NASDAQ, we hadn't made all-time highs since October of last year. That's a long time ago, right? Hadn't made all-time highs. So it kept saying we need a new swing point low, the technical picture. So is it the war that does it? Or is it the technical picture? And then you look at Nikkei, and I told you if it does pull back, it's going to pull our markets with it. Amen? So could this be en route to a visit of the Magic Fibo? We get that to happen, which is still several thousand more. We're at 54. Magic Fibo's here at 50/49. It is sloping upwards, but we get another 4,000 point decline, which we got in 1 day here so far. We get another one of those, then that certainly should pull ES and NASDAQ down. When am I really getting itchy to pull the trigger on a big bounce? Is when Mr. NASDAQ breaks a new low. Everybody feeling me? So, as we've been saying for weeks, any rally should be sold. Still looking for this price pattern to play out. Is it because of the war it's playing out? Or is it because the technical picture and things fall into place? That's what I've always said. I don't know what the reason's going to be, but the technical picture says we really need a new swing point low. We're not there yet. Percentage-wise, we really need this. Is it possible we could end up with this higher low and we still go breaking out? Well, I'm going to do you one further. I'm in the highest of highest probability we're going up bubble hunt. No question we're going to go higher and reach all-time highs. The question is, do we get that final flush to correct this pattern to set up the big run? So the deeper we go, the more I salivate for this thing to go higher. Because the further down we go, the further up we have to go to reach this area. That's the beauty. So the reason I'm a little iffy on ES, even though it's right where it needs to be, for the perfect reversal to go 1,000+ points higher, right? 67, 75, so about 1,000 points is beautiful place for it to happen. It just doesn't look like NASDAQ is ready yet. And if we get Nikkei to pull further back toward its daily Magic Fibo, then no question this is going to get sucked down into here. Got it? So I'm watching the Nikkei because it's global liquidity. Well, was it our markets going down that's pulling the Nikkei down, or is it Nikkei going down that's pulling our markets down? That's the conundrum, right? Which one is it? I think it's global liquidity. That's the only reason why I look at the Nikkei. And when global liquidity is shrinking, it typically, highest probability of time, pulls our markets down with it. See it? Here's the Dow. We got NASDAQ. We got the Dow down here. All of them are pulling down with it. Now watch for position of authority. Don't expect because I said it's going down here that we can't get an intraday reversal. We've been seeing those where we get the push lower and it spikes back up. This is just like a false bounce. And I didn't think it was going to break out. And now we got another new low. And it's still not complete. But it's possible this could be the end. And we do go breaking out. ES bounces, NASDAQ bounce. And this is the end. But this really, really needs one more flush to take out that swing point low. All I can say is if we get down here, then I'm definitely looking for a long position for us to go up well over 1,000 points. It'll be a few thousand points from we go down here in the 23 area up to 27, 28, 3, 4,000 points, maybe 5. We shall see. So please be careful. Be in a position of authority because I do expect choppy condition. I don't expect just beautiful down day, next day. Nothing like that. I expect this chop, grind, laboring, just chop and puree. But more likely we're going to get more downside before we get the big upside break toward new highs. Fair enough? And if NASDAQ was already down here and ES was reaching the Magic Fibo like it is, then I'd feel a lot more confident this is time for the reversal. I'm not convinced that this is it because NASDAQ is not there. And like I said, it is possible ES could go bouncing and start to break out while NASDAQ flips down here real quick next day or two, and then it reverses. So I won't say there's no way ES is going to go breaking out and NASDAQ's still going to come down here. But I like the fact that we get that push lower. The plan is to take advantage of that pullback and expect new all-time highs. Fair enough? And even with ES, whether this is the pullback and it's over, still looking for all-time new highs, or we get a deeper retracement, that's okay too. But I'm keeping a keen eye on Mr. Roboto down here. And is this the pullback we needed and we're ready to go bouncing, or we're likely going to get sucked and drawn toward the Magic Fibo? I'm thinking we really would like to see this come back toward the Magic Fibo. That would set up a much larger bounce on global liquidity, as well as a much larger bounce on our ES, NASDAQ, Dow, etc. Fair enough? Beautiful. So I warned you about that when it typically goes parabolic, you look for about a 50% retracement. And let me take some of these lines off here. There's a million of them, but that's what we do every day. We Fibonacci, we get the software lined up, we get things set, and we say, okay, it's time to take these out. And we look at this most recent retracement, and we had this pullback to this low, and we had this run up to this high, and there's your 50% retracement. What did I warn? When this baby goes parabolic, you typically get about a 50% retracement. Is that enough? Or do we get a little bit deeper and get this a little steeper pullback toward the Magic Fibo? I'd like to see a little steeper pullback just to set the tone for NASDAQ to get to that lower low, and ES probably to hold up a little bit better, but still go lower, and Dow go lower. pull the markets down, and then we go bouncing to break out. And then ES goes on all-time highs, pushing that 72 to 7,500. NASDAQ gets from that 23,000-ish low up to that 27, 28,000. And then Dow dips back down and then rips back above the 50,000 we tested temporarily. And then we go breaking out toward that 54, 53 area, kind of the next zone up here. I know there's a bunch of lines. That's what we do, but that's why I put bubbles on here where we're likely to go. And look, the Dow didn't quite reach. It's close, but it didn't quite reach the Magic Fibo. So maybe we need NASDAQ to give us this lower low. That would set this NASDAQ pattern up. And by doing so, we get the Dow to pull back a little bit more. And we get ES to pull back a little bit more. And then we set the tone for the blast off, which will come second half of the year as we push into the fall area. And what did we warn you about most recently when we look at the class itinerary here? Hey, on my birthday, we had class. I'm so dedicated to make sure you're successful that I even on my birthday give you some good advice, and not buy, sell to hold advice, but good information, education. And we said even March seasonality expected a pullback. We went over that in great detail, that through the first couple of weeks of March, we're looking for a deeper pullback. So let's go back and retune that same question of where's the markets headed? Where's the beef? Well, typically we get a pullback until like the second week, not the very beginning of March. So this is another reason why I'm not convinced that this is the end of this pullback. I like where it's reaching. I did say we would come here or here, but Emil, this thing could bounce, give us a little retracement, and kind of hold up and chop in this zone. We don't have to get a big major sell-off for ES. We can just kind of bounce in here and get a pullback, and we just kind of chop and grind in here while NASDAQ gives us the flush down there, because this picture is finished as far as technically speaking. That's all we need. But if we get NASDAQ to do what it needs to do, and we get global liquidity to pull down toward that Magic Fibo, then I would expect ES will probably get pulled down. But sometimes it'll start to bounce and just chop while the other market sells off harder. You've seen that before, where ES actually made an all-time high and NASDAQ did not. Obviously, since October, we made a few all-time highs. This goes back to October here. And then what did we do? We made an all-time high. NASDAQ did not. We made another one. NASDAQ did not. We made a third one. Not by a whole lot, but it still was all-time high. All-time high. All-time high. And NASDAQ has not. So that's the bigger technical picture for NASDAQ. We need to finish that flush. So this one does not have to make a new low like NASDAQ in order to complete this pattern. We got what we needed, and we don't need any more. But if NASDAQ keeps flushing, it's possible we could flush this one too. All I can say, what if it happens, Harold? Man, I'm salivating for that big push on ES, on NASDAQ, on the Dow, on IWM is a little bit different than all of them. Do we hold and we need to come into Magic Fibo, or is it pattern? Both of these and all of these are setting up for bubble hunting. So look at the Russell. Do we get a pullback to the Magic Fibo? Do we necessarily need it? Maybe. If the Nikkei continues to push toward its Magic Fibo, then I think it's even going to pull not only ES down, NASDAQ and Dow down, it's likely going to pull this IWM to pull down. And the more we get a pullback on small caps, the more I like it. What is this thing setting up? Whether most people don't trade RTU, the actual index, this RTY, the futures, but most people trade the IWM, and we're reaching, and look, it's trying to reverse. So we did get a slight lower low here. Is that enough to warrant the reversal? Could be. We're definitely, in my humble opinion, going visit on RT. We're going at 3,100, 3,000, 3,100. On IWM, we're going visit this 300, 290 to 315 level. That's where that bubble is. So in my humble opinion, all of our markets, even though I think we might even get a little bit more of a dip, we're going up here. So write these levels down. ES, 72 to 75 is the bubble for now. Are we going to get there? Absolutely, we're going to get there. In my humble opinion, of course. Can I guarantee it? I did with silver. Can I guarantee this? I'm very confident this is a foregone conclusion. Only question is this bounce going to do it now? Or do we kind of get another push? We got several things going against us. The seasonality, not to say over the last 20 plus years we drew the seasonality chart, which says we likely always, highest probability, pull back for the first couple of weeks. But what does it say once we get that? We start ripping higher April, May, June into like fall in a stair-stepping affair, of course. But this is why I would expect we're going to be up here probably by fall. Mid, early, could be there sooner, could be there later, but fall's kind of the area where I think we're going to rally to. Into the fall, we're going to go breaking all-time highs. Do we get the last push lower? Seasonality says we got another week or so. The rest of this week into next week. And if I see the NASDAQ make that new swing point low we're looking for, 23,000 and lower, and even if ES holds up well, just kind of bops and chops in this zone, and we dip just a little bit lower than this area, that's fine. I'm buying, right? NASDAQ gets to where it's going, I'm buying. ES, I'm buying. Russell, I'm buying. Dow, you got them all. Which one you like better? Or maybe you get a little something, something in all of them. But the plan is bubble hunting, all-time highs across the board. All-time highs on ES, all-time highs on NASDAQ, all-time highs on Russell, all-time highs on Dow, even all-time highs on Nikkei. But I still expect we'll likely need a pullback. Is the pullback today the end? Or do we need a little bit more? Again, I'll make a bold statement. If this thing flushes down here, no question it's going to pull ES, NASDAQ, Dow, and even on the technical chart, depending on where we close today, least likely, but still likely, IWM. And I'd love to see all of them take that dip for the next rip. How's that sound? So be careful. Be in a position of authority. Those that are day traders or scalpers, you need to be taking profits right now on NASDAQ, etc. Yes, I think it's going to go lower, but these typically are bouncing in the same zone. That's why you lock in 400 plus and don't worry about the next. You go short. Yes, it's down here, but I'm more interested in shorting this. I'm much more interested in buying that. Amen? So I even said it, we're likely still need a flush, so any rally should be sold until we get there. Once we get there, this is definitely called SAL, for salivate country. When we get down into this lower low, lower than 23.9, target 23.5, 23.2, maybe we get an over-exaggeration. I would love to see that. Big over-exaggeration, we dip into the 22s, because the deeper it goes, the further it's got to go to get to our bubble up there, which is in that 27, 28,000 range. So in closing, be careful. Yes, this could be the end and we go breaking out. Even the NASDAQ is screaming we need a new swing point low. It could go breaking out, but I don't think so. I've been saying we need a deeper retracement. Even on these, I was very questioned, said, don't think so. Look for this to go lower, another bounce, don't think so. Still think we need the flush. And with seasonality, we still got the rest of this week into next week that we look for this. So what would be ideal? Man, I'd love to see this thing thrust lower into next week. Just keep grinding and grunting lower and then get one last big thrust lower. Maybe we try to push toward this lower 22, but anything in the 23,000, it's time to start thinking about the reversal. And the lower we go, the more we salivate for the same outcome. Because again, whether we stop at this bubble and we go up here, or we push beyond it and we push this extension into the 22s, still going up here. So the deeper we go, the further we got to go to get here, because this is a given, in my humble opinion. We're definitely going to get there. Amen. Same thing with ES. We're going to get here. How much lower do we go? Be careful on intraday type bounces and lock in profit. I know a lot of people die and go to heaven when they get a point or two on ES. That's why I kept saying, don't get caught on the long side. Yes, we're going here, but we need that flush. Is this enough, or we need more? What would happen if Nikkei goes plummeting down to the daily Magic Fibo and ES gets sucked down and makes a new low? NASDAQ gets sucked down to that 23, 22 level. And what would I do there? Salivate. So whether this holds up and we go here or we break down, we're still going there. And it doesn't matter this pattern. Well, Gary, if we do that and we close below this green box, that means we're going to make a new low. Does that affect the fact that we go up here? Not at all. Even if we overreact and we go towards 62, still going up to 72 to 75. So we get down here, you're talking minimum 1,000 points. I like it. From 62 to 72. Amen. And for those Dow players out there, I typically look mostly at ES, NASDAQ, and Russell to give you the biggest, the Texanine, the big companies, big tech, and then small cap. That's the complete picture. Dow is a little bit more distorted, heavily weighted with UNH. But speaking of which, UNH down here, we're looking at this thing to go soaring higher. Looking at this eventually, this leverage product to go ripping. When what? When the Dow finishes its correction, NASDAQ, etc., next couple of weeks, which we're in, and we get the reversal, even the Dow seasonality expects this thing to go higher as we move toward the fall. And when UNH underlying goes up, this is going to go up times 2. So a lot of these we've been looking at is the leverage product of the underlying. And this has still been holding up fairly well since we talked about that big gap down with earnings. And this set up the idea I wanted to look at nibbling on some of this down here. And what if it goes lower and we get into the we get into the single digits, add to the position. Because I think this thing is going to go soaring higher, as I expect the Dow's going to go soaring higher, and I expect UNH is going to go soaring higher. And the higher UNH goes, the higher the Dow. Well, as the Dow goes, this is going to soar. And then the higher UNH soars, the higher UNHG soars times 2. So I'm not thinking it's the bottom yet. I've already nibbled just a little bit. And I'm looking for, even if we get an extension down 200, or not quite, maybe we get down this low. If the markets overreact with that, that's even salivate country for the reversal. Amen. And you look at that chart and go, why would anybody want to be buying that? Because of this massive 618 type of retracement, and probably won't make new lows, but we shall see. But I'm still looking for what? UNH to reverse as the Dow reverses, ES reverses, NASDAQ reverses, IWM, etc. reverses, and they all go bubble hunting. What if UNH does some kind of bubble hunt with the market? Then that UNHG is going to go massively higher. Amen? All righty. What about Adobe? Mr. Tucson, how about the Adobe? Give this a little bounce today. It's setting up for a nice bounce. Thanks, Emil, for bringing that to my attention. We got a weekly oversold. We're starting to get a little PAI hook. So kind of talked about it. Well, what if we get the last flush and we see this thing do this? Bounce. We get a little bit more push. More of a salivate country the lower it pushes, because I do think that when our markets reverse and the software has been beaten down, man, has it been beaten down. Look at that. From 650 down to 250. Wow. What excites me about this is this bigger picture. Beautiful. Three-wave correction. It made the lower low. So sometimes you nibble early and you're spot on. You think, thank God I did. Other times you nibble early, you get a little rally, you get a little further pushback. And what do you do in that case? Do you panic and sell for a loss, or you just buy the dip? Software setting up for a big run. Weekly, monthly, in oversold territory. So this hasn't turned yet. So what's it possible? The weekly could go up, a little down. The next day or two or whatever, this week we get that last flush lower. It sets up this much bigger move after a three-wave correction. We got a beautiful vertical move up. Gorgeous three-wave correction that's in a 618786 zone. And now what are we looking for? Bounce and breakout. Whether we go breaking out all-time highs or we simply just get a 618 off of that, you're talking a few 100-point move, right? So what do? You go in here, your drawing tools, MPA Fibonacci retracement, all that's included in the software, and you go from the high down to the low. And whether we go, what happens if we go a little lower? You just grab it and pull it a little bit lower. But if you just get a 50 to 618 retracement, you're talking a couple of $100 move. I like it. And my monthly's oversold, weekly's oversold, daily's beginning to reverse. But again, I'm waiting for this what? NASDAQ to bottom, ES to bottom, and then we get the markets to go blowing off. Then it's going to pull, the tide rises and it lifts all boats. If NASDAQ goes bubble hunting, ES goes bubble hunting, NASDAQ, Russell goes bubble hunting, the Dow, what is this going to do to this guy? It's going to rise and go higher. Whether or not it breaks new highs or it just gives a retracement, it's substantial. Amen? That's why I like this setup. Beautiful. Monthly, weekly, already beginning to hook, got a little trigger action. So this is why I nibbled here. And if we get a lower high, lower low, because we get another push, I'm looking for add to the position. So with ADBG, I already have some nibble down in here. And what if it gets lower high, lower low, and we push even lower? We go into, say, $4 or $3, then I'm just going to add to my position. What if this thing just takes off from here? I'm already in it to win it. So that's the plan. No buy, sell to hold. I can't tell you what to do. That's not my job. But this is clearly setting up. The question is, I'm not convinced this is the low just yet, even though it was enough to warrant nibbling. And if we do get the next thrust where NASDAQ flips and ES gets pulled back, we get that seasonality pullback into next week, even better. I'll just dollar cost average and add more and look for the reversal to come as we go from this time frame, maybe mid-March into the fall, and expect this thing is going to make a nice big run. So you got it on NinjaTrader 8, and we have it on MetaTrader 4, and I'm still disputing and thinking about testing it on TradingView. How about that? So let's go back. Any questions on this? Is this the reversal? Maybe not. Maybe we get a little bit of reprieve and then we get the next push lower, but that's why I nibble down here on this one. I like these prices down here, not a lot to invest. Even 100 shares, a few $100. Okay, got it. And what if this thing goes down and I go below my entry point and I go from, say, $5? I think I bought it 4 and change, but like $5. And then it goes to 250. I'm going to double down, double down if we get that last flush. Then my net would be about 3-ish instead of 4-ish, and look for the reversal. So pay me now, pay me later. I do think these are going to run. I'm just not convinced that we're done because of these, mainly this one. This could be the end. Big rejection. Look, it's down only 400 now. It's pushing 470 a minute ago. Got a little bounce. Is that the end? I'm not convinced with seasonality, and this technical picture really needs a flush. We get a new low, then I'm salivating. We hit this bubble, big time salivation. Got it? So what am I thinking in closing on this? And I'm going to go through all of these. I think we need the flush to clean this pattern up. That sets the tone for us to go ripping. And if we can get that, it'll probably pull ES down, probably pull potentially Russell down, and could pull the Dow down, especially if Nikkei does what we just discussed. Nikkei pushes toward its magic Fibo. This is definitely coming down here. No question. Definitely coming down here if Nikkei flushes toward the magic Fibo. And what does that look like? Nikkei right here, nice little sell-off, get a flush. That sets the tone for the big reversal and sets the tone for ours to get flushed with it, and we get salivate country. Because I don't think this is the end of the Nikkei's run. It did reach the bottom of the bubble. Still think we got more upside, so this would be an ideal type of move to set up the next big bounce. And guess what that would look like? You know what's coming? 2.2. We go from the high, we come down to the low. We break that. Look where the top of the bubble is. High probability targets up here. So I definitely think whether or not we flush down here, we're going up here, or we just kind of stop here, we're going up here. But all markets are going to do it. I just would like to see this last flush. It fits the seasonality. It fits the NASDAQ needing to get to that new low. And I can assure you, if this thing flushes down here to that magic Fibo, drops another 4,000 points like we're almost did today, then I look for the NASDAQ to push down toward that 23 that we're looking for and expect a big flush there too. All right. So what are the numbers we're looking at? We got a lot of these setting up. Apple still, is this the beginning of a 1-2-1-2 ready to go blasting off? I do think Apple's going to go blasting off. I definitely think we're going to make new highs, right? New all-time highs again. That is definitely in the cards, like most markets are, with ES making all-time highs, NASDAQ, Russell, Dow. Apple's going to do it too. So AAPU is a way to play it. The question is that finished now? And this is over, or we're going to get that additional push like we've been talking about. And we look for this. What if it flushes? The deeper Apple goes, the more I buy some AAPU. Because if we go from March into fall, 6 months or so into the fall, I expect this thing's going to go breaking out. Got it? Tesla, it too is getting pulled down with the market. We're probably, now that we're breaking below this area, we got the prior swing point at 380. We probably need this push toward 370, 360 area, make a new swing point low, right? This is probably definitely on the cards. So even though I have a huge bias of Tesla going ripping, and TSLL is how I'm playing it, instead of buying $390 a share, I'm buying 13 plus, and we bought it when it was at $6. And before that, you know about TSLL, back in October over here, when we, here in October of 24, I made a bold statement, said, hey, Tesla's going to run toward 500. You might consider TSLL. And that day on the 24th of October, what did I say? You can buy this below $10 over here in October, right there, below $10. And that thing shot up to 41.50. So I'm looking for that surge again. Talked about it here when it was $6. Talk about salivate to buy it here. It almost quadrupled to 24, just under it. And now we got this next pullback. Where's the next one going? Minimum into the 30s. So we're in the teens. We're going into the 30s. And that's if it's a dud. That's if Tesla can only pop to 550, 650. If Tesla goes 7, 8, 900, this thing's going stratosphere, 40s. And we're buying it in the teens to go to the 40s. That's again 4x, maybe 5x. We shall see. But I own it, and I'm looking for the dip, probably go a little bit more, because Tesla's picture looks like, very much so, that we need a new swing point low. Sound familiar? Come down at 370 area, 360. That would be a thing of beauty. Set up the big surge. So even the deeper Tesla goes during this pullback, the higher it's got to go to get to our conservative target, about 550 to 650. I still think is where we're headed, at least. Any questions? So what does a dip mean? Lower TSLL. If you've never taken advantage of TSLL, there's another opportunity. We've given it multiple times during these pullbacks and rallies. And even most recently on that last pullback, we had it down about $6, went up to 24. Now we're pulling back to 14, as you see. Could go a little lower. I kind of was talking about that $12 target. We get back to 12, I'm just going to add some more in continuation, even though I'm already doubled from the original 6 to 24. So what do? We bought, took profits, took the house's money, bought, took profits, took the house's money, bought. On the dip, I'm going to buy some more and look for this thing to go ripping. Not only Tesla, but as Tesla goes, TSLL goes times 2. In my humble opinion, it's going to go at least into the 30s. And that's if it's kind of a dud, where Tesla could barely grind toward 550 area, maybe 6. But if Tesla goes ripping the 7, 8, and 9, pushing the limits, this thing's going to push the limits as well into the 50s, 60s, and maybe even toward the 80s. And you're buying it at what? Teens. Am I guaranteeing it's going up here? No. But we've been pretty accurate on all these moves to take profits along the way. Meta. Meta setting up beautifully. The big retracement, the 1, 2, 1, 2. This thing is just bounding up to go ripping to what? 1100. Terrible looking 0 to 1300. Wow. What's that? This thing is getting ready to double. It's going to take probably a couple of years. So I'm not trying to tell you Meta is going to double by the fall. What would happen if it would do it? I'd be doing backflips. Because if we go ripping up there that fast, METU is going to go soaring into the 70s, 80s, double, triple. It's going to be awesome. So I already own a little METU, and I'm looking for this thing to go up to 1100 to 1300. This is a high probability target for me. And you can see this is the bubble here, but I don't want you to think this is the bubble that matches ES, NASDAQ, etc. No, this is probably a couple of years out. It could be sooner. Would I be shocked by next year we push this in the late fall into the year and it's up here? No, I wouldn't be shocked, but I still think it's probably going to take probably a year at least, maybe two, to get up here. But the technical picture is just screaming for us to go ripping into 1300. Amen. So a lot of these, the underlying, I'm expecting to bounce. When we get our final dip, which is the plan on the seasonality, and then ES goes ripping to all-time highs, NASDAQ goes to all-time highs, Dow, Nikkei, IWM, or Russell goes, this thing's going to start ripping then. So is this the end of the pullback and it's just gearing up? We got the initial pullback and we got a 1, 2, 1, 2, and we keep grinding, ready to go 3 of 3 of 3, just ripping. That's the plan. But am I guaranteeing this is the low? Well, maybe we need that last little flush. It's been holding up well, even though the markets are selling off big and we're getting a little bit of a bounce. This Meta's been holding up. As you can see, when I stretch this price action up, it's been holding up fairly well considering. As ES has made a new low, Meta has not. Dow has made a new low off of the previous. It pulled down. It has not. ES, NASDAQ hadn't made the new low yet, but it's making recent new lows, and this one keeps making higher lows. See it? So let's go back and review. What are we talking about? See how we made some new lows on ES? Not this low yet, but this low made some new lows. Meta has been holding up very well. Meta has been making higher lows. Oh, not bad. And METU, which is the leverage product, kind of similar, obviously. But we hadn't made this low. That's NASDAQ hadn't made a low, but we've been holding up so far. So this is the plan for this thing to go ripping, as Meta will go ripping. And what if we do get that last push and Meta gets pulled down some? That's okay. It's still winding up off of the bigger move. This is the more important low down here at 580, but definitely more important low. Then we got 600, and then we got 625, which we're still nicely off of that. So is this the end? We're ready to go ripping now, or do we get another little pullback into next week and then we go ripping? Either way, pay me now, pay me later. Whether we dip, we're going ripping, or whether we just start ripping, we're going ripping. And all roads, even with a bigger retracement, lead to what? 11 to 1300. We'll split the difference, 1200. Basically a double from where we are. Amazon, ditto, ditto, ditto. Is that the end of the pullback and we're ready to start grinding higher? Or do we need one more little flush? Either way, this is the support zone I'm looking to hold. Even if we get a deeper pullback, the deeper it goes, the more I like it. And we're looking for extensions to go up and blast off. And again, all markets start ripping into the fall. This is going to rip with it. And how high do we go? Well, it doesn't have to go that far, but even if it gets up here, for example, we start ripping something like that. That is a huge run of about a 70% increase. What would that do to AMZU? 140% increase, which we're in the 20s right now, and we're talking going up near 60. So that's over a double. So that's why we're looking at all of these leverage products to get in at lower pricing. We don't have to worry about options to get the timing just right. We just buy and hold. And while we're holding, we get a little dividend that's coming, right? A little dollar here, a little cent there, 22 cents there, et cetera, et cetera. So we have one coming in March is the next dividend. See, the last March was done on the 25th. So the end of this March, toward the end of the month, when we're expecting this to have bottomed and start reversing, as we start pushing into the fall, you'll get a little dividend while you hold it. Not bad. And expect this thing to go ripping. Hood, still getting that pullback, not only with Bitcoin, but in general. This is going to be a good one. This one's setting up for a big pop. And we got some targets up here into the upper twos, maybe 275. I still think Hood's headed that way. It could take a year or so, or it could go ripping up there by the end of this year. But HODU is just hovering down here. How low did we go? I nibbled a little bit, and the lower it goes, am I going to panic and sell for a loss? No, I'm going to hold it. We got a little dividend coming in March. Not that I'm holding it for that reason. Reason I'm holding it because I expect when all markets go ripping to all-time highs, it's going to pull even Hood that's been beaten down off of its retracement. Even if we just get a retracement back up from the high to the low and we start pushing a 618,786 area, you're talking right around about a double in even that retracement. Let me clean this up, just make sure I got all the right numbers and give you that correct number. I got so many lines on here, but this would be from the high down to the low. Even we get a 618 retracement around 120, almost a double. Push 786, getting closer to the double. But I would suspect we're probably going to go breaking out, just like everybody else, and likely start pushing 160, 170, maybe up here to 200. And that's why I have this target even further up, extensions. That's why I think we can go that high. Where did that come from? 3.2, low, high, higher low. See it? Look at that beauty. And we get that measured bounce and we push the envelope toward that 1618. That's a thing of beauty. So again, I'm not trying to tell you should be buying all these. It's just the plan is to get that final dip, and then we look for the rip going into late fall, maybe end of the year, and these babies go soaring. What happens when we get up there and Dow is at its bubble, NASDAQ is up at its bubble, ES is at its bubble, all of these are doing very well, or wherever they are, what am I going to do? Unload them all, every one of them. Because after we get to the bubbles on all these markets, we're going to get another big correction. I'm already showing the future before it happens. So whether you go back to ES, what's the plan? Email and others. No matter how big the dip, we're going to rip. And when we get up to the bubble, we're going to do what? Get up to the boat, we're going to have a nice big pullback, whether it's Elizabeth, I'm coming to join you, honey, and we get a market crash and a financial crisis, and maybe it's the commercial real estate bubble burst or whatever it might be, or we simply just going to get a correction. But when we get to these nosebleed sections, that's a big parabolic move that's looking for that much bigger correction. Amen? So that will be coming, but no matter what the dip is, we're still going to go ripping to the bubble. Same thing with the NASDAQ. I mean, you just got to go back out to these bigger pictures and look at that parabolic move in tech. We haven't had a 618 retracement since way back here in 2009, that one right there, 2009 bottom reversal. That was the last time we had a big 618 retracement. So if you take this swing point low from that low, we haven't had a 618 retracement. Even this one at the time was not a 618 retracement. We're overdue. So when Elizabeth, I'm coming to join you, honey, does finally hit, we're talking pretty massive retracement back to the Magic Fibo on a monthly, which is at 12 to 11,000. And could even get us all the way toward 10,000. And right now, we need to go off the whatever the low is going to be. So we're saying, say, 27, 28. You'll see what that does for you. Let's just push it to the upper limit like 28. So from that low, and we push to that bubble hunt like 28. What does that put us? 11,000, potentially 14,000 for a 50% retracement. And what is that typical of? A parabolic move. When it finally stops, you typically at least get a 50% retracement, and that's putting us in the neighborhood of my monthly Magic Fibo. That's why this Magic Fibo is going to be critical. What happens after we get the market crash and we're hovering down in this area? Look to reload and for the next push to all-time highs. But the correction slash market crash is coming one way or the other. Yes, the market crash will be deeper. The correction is not going to be as deep as a crash, but we're still going to see a substantial retracement once we hit that all-time high. And I don't mean like the very next time, but the bubble, right? And what are the bubbles? The bubbles up here in that 27, 28 range. We could go much higher than that potentially, but we'll play it by ear. So in closing, all these markets, due to seasonality, are likely still to go lower to finish the correction. ES does not have to do it, but speaking of NASDAQ, it really does. This looks too ugly. All of this initial surge and that pullback, this is overlapping and chopping and grinding and just gnarly looking. We haven't made a new high since October. This is screaming, which I've been saying for months. This is screaming we need a new low. And even as this thing started to look like it was going to break out, well, I kept saying, sell it. We're going to come down. We really need to correct this first before it would warrant building us to go to all-time highs. So that's still the plan until we get that final flush. Amen? Otherwise, what if I'm 100% wrong and the markets just go ripping from here and we don't get a deeper seasonality? The seasonality is over early into the 1st of March, and we don't get it into like the middle of March, and this thing goes ripping. Well, we still got to take out this prior swing point, and more importantly, this one up here. And I know it's a long way. We're talking a little under 2,000 pips for us to go breaking that. But be careful. Like I told you at the beginning of class, you were up 400 whatever points. Now you're back to 330. That this was likely to bounce, but I'm not convinced this bounce is ready to go bubble hunting. Probably still going to get one more flush, and then we do. If I'm wrong, we start taking out that prior swing point, then expect it to go test the next one. We break that out, then it is bubble hunt. Fair enough? All righty. IWM is the only one that's really a little bit different because it's been holding up very well. Still definitely think, in my humble opinion, we're going to, as far as IWM, that 300, 315 area. If you're doing a Russell, that 3,000, 3,100 area. So I can kind of shrink that way to get to 3,000, push this up higher toward 31. I guess I need to raise that a bit and then shrink this down. So I keep it around that 3,100, 3,000 to 3,100. I guess I got to keep moving it so it's just right. but that's my target, 3,000 to 3,100. How about that? That's it. 3,100, 3,000. We're definitely headed there, in my humble opinion. The question is, do we get that last flush to get there? Or do we start reversing now? This one does not have to flush, even though I think NASDAQ does. But if Nikkei follows suit like we've been playing the story, and we get the bigger dip, then the rip, that's where we're headed. All right. What about black gold Texas T? Be careful up here. This is because of the war, obviously, and Iran saying they're closing the Horn, and that's where most of all oil goes through that little bend in the river up there. Call it a river, but you got it. And they're talking about, well, we took out their Navy. I don't know how they're going to prevent it, but even the United States says the Horn is closed. So that's what caused this to spike. Rumor is going to go to 100. I was looking for the 100, but I would definitely be in a position of authority on this, because the last time rockets flew was like 6 days. We plummeted. We kind of pushed these 6 days. We plummeted. We're kind of in that same zone. We could plummet here. What can happen? Surrender. Give up. Local people take over from the regime. Flush the rest of them out. And then oil prices go plummeting. But between Venezuela and oil, that's good for the U.S. Why? Everybody realized that all these refineries from Louisiana all the way through Texas, all that coastal line has all the proper production that takes that dirty crude out of Venezuela. They specialize in refining that. That's going to bring thousands and thousands of jobs with those millions of barrels potentially a day. And then you throw in the Iran scenario with all the control oil prices there. Man, we're going to see oil prices plummet eventually. But is this the run I was looking for and then the plummet? Or is this, ideally, this would be even better, Mr. Toussaint. We get this another head fake. We get the last flush. Then we go up here. Then we get the next push. But this was due to war, and we said it. I said, I'm looking for this to flush down, except if what? Rockets fly again. We know what happened last time. And be careful, this thing could be over very quickly. And then everything's open and oil production resumes, and we're going to speed it up, blah, blah, blah. And then boom, we get the pullback. And then what? Well, this is in the technical picture for us to go to there. Whether this is it, and then we come down, or we still get a flush, then we come down. I would just be in a position of authority on this bounce. I'm definitely in a position of authority on this, because one more flush would really look good for the setup for us to get up here, right? That would really do the trick to get that last flush to set up that bigger move. And if not, rockets continue to fly, and maybe they got some other unknown weapons, and they continue to keep the Horn closed there, then oil traffic is definitely slacking, and that's why oil prices will continue to soar. Either way, Dan and others that trade black gold Texas T, be in a position of authority, because one thing I like about Kramer, bulls make money, bears make money, but pigs get slaughtered. And you think it might go up here, it could still do this before it gets up there, but I would definitely be in a position of authority. That's how you do it. You get in, software was saying we were due for a bounce, and we got a little bit extra bounce because of some rockets now, like last time. But what happened thereafter immediately then reversed. So this is why you need to be in that position of authority. Rockets could stop flying this afternoon and tomorrow or the next day, and this thing goes plummeting again. Rumor was supposed to be it was going to be at 100 opening on Monday. Never happened. Not even close, right? But rumor is one thing. Sell the news, buy the rumor, sell the news. Well, any moment this thing could end, this thing could go plummeting. Amen? Or it can finish the last pop. But what's my strategy if this thing keeps going? I'm buying some SCO, because once we get up there, I'm looking for a pullback. If we get the dip, then I'm buying UCO, which I had a little, but I was hoping to get that to add a lot more. So I'm up nicely on that UCO bounce right there. That's quite the bounce, right? We're down in 18, we're at 30, not bad. But that's why you need to be careful of this, because we get that pullback and we do get the flush before we hit that 90 to 100 target up there, and this thing flushes back down. What am I going to do? Take profits, profit money from the markets, take that and buy some more. If we get down to 50 and lower, I'm buying again. Or if we go rallying up toward 100, I'm definitely, whatever I got left, going to sell and buy some SCO, because when oil prices start plummeting back down, SCO is going to go ripping higher. Any questions on black gold Texas T? Even this technical picture of this soaring higher looks like we still need a retracement before we do that, and that would pull us down accordingly. So is this the breakout we're looking for? Right here, and we're going up to the target we talked about, or we're going to get a pullback, then that. I still think we're going to go visiting. The question is, rockets continue to fly, we're going to reach it. We stop, it's going to come back down. Gold and silver, when the dollar bounces like we've seen, expecting it's going to fizzle, this pullback is typical. And I still think we're due for the bigger flush on gold. That was the correction. And we even talked about when it reached that 53 area, we were likely going to get that reversal for the next leg down. So be careful on yellow gold as well. I don't think we're ready to go breaking out just yet. I think we're due for a bigger correction. Then we can reassess for the new breakout. But yes, gold will go higher, much higher. I just think this corrective action is not finished, so we need a flush. Silver the same. Still think we need the flush, so this is corrective. We need one more flush. All I can say is we get down to that $50, $40 range. I'm rinsing and repeating what we did on that big run. Take the market's money, rinse and repeat, and do the same. Amen? All right. And last but not least, Bitcoin. It's still in this chop grind. Would not be surprised before we do make all-time new, not all-time, but new lows. Well, let me start off by clarifying that. This is not the low. This is not the end of the correction, and we're ready to go bull, and crypto's going breaking out. Still think it's going to flush down into, and it might even be one of those intraday or weekly candle wicks that dips down in here, but set an alert when Bitcoin hits 50,000 or lower. It is a good idea, in my humble opinion, no buy, sell to hold recommendation, to invest in the Bitcoin, whether you buy the ETFs or any of this other, but straight up Bitcoin is a good idea to buy and hold. That was the plan. Nibble zone in late 2026. And that's still the plan. I think we're going to flush down in here. But when Bitcoin hits there tomorrow, next week, next month, late fall, whatever, it gets to 50,000 and lower, I'm adding and holding till when? Bitcoin has the next halving in May of next year, of 28, excuse me, May of 28. So we bottom here and we start grinding higher into the halving. 12 to 18 month we run. This is a cycle that is like set your watch on it. Crypto, we came in the first halving. It doesn't look like much. We did a 12 to 18 month run. We pull back to the low. We went into the next halving, 12 to 18 month run, pull back to the low. Next halving, 12 to 18 month run, pull back, 12 to 18 months. We started running back to hit next halving. This one was different. We did all those ETFs. We did make new all-time highs, but we still did the rip. And I know we fell just a little shy of the target, but back when it was below 20,000, I kept preaching and saying it, dude, you're going to hate yourself if you don't buy Bitcoin at 20,000. It's going, ideally back then was 150. We made it to 126 and change. Well, might be disappointed, but it exactly topped out 18 months later from the halving. Can't make this stuff up. So, are we going to break out? Yeah, but not now. We're going to make a new low. We can nibble down here like we did at 20,000. And then as we go into 2028 halving, we're going to buy in 26, 50,000 and lower. And the lower it goes, the more we keep buying. And then what? Hold it until the next halving in 28, which is right now roughly May of 28. And then we hold it to what? 12 to 18 months would put us in late 2029. And look at this bigger picture. We top out every 4 years. We topped out in 17. We topped out in 21. We topped out in 25. So what's the next top out? 29. And then we bottomed when? We bottomed in 18. We bottomed in 22. We're going to bottom in 26. Everybody get the math? And then what? Buy 50,000 and lower, sell in 29 like we sold in 17 over there, in 21, in 25, or just taking profits, that is. And we're looking to buy, sell, and every 4 years we got the plan, right? So in closing, look for this to go absolutely, in my humble opinion, this is not the bottom. No way, shape, or form. Even if Bitcoin rallies back to 100 or at 115 area and does a 618 type of retracement, still looking for a lower low. This is not, I repeat, in my humble opinion, not the bottom. We will go to 50,000 and lower, is still the plan. So set an alert when it hits 50,000 and lower. Please do like I didn't recommend, because I can't tell you what to do. No buy, sell to hold. But I was preaching to the choir that at 20,000 and lower, you'll regret not going long by the time we hit 2025. And what happened? You see it. Well, as we get to 50,000 and lower, we hit 50,000, I'm going to buy. We hit 40, I'm buying more. We hit 30, I'm buying double, triple. Just keep adding. And then when? We're going to start grinding higher into towards 28. And then we're going to go ripping into 2028, into late 29. Oh, that's kind of overkill on that chart. But we're going to go ripping up here into late 2029. And then we're going to get another pullback. That's just the way it does. So with that, I'll say good luck. God bless you. May the pips be with you. I'm humbled and honored to be your mentor and instructor. And join us again tomorrow. And before I say that's it, that's all, I wanted to remind you that tomorrow I do have the little EA file for this that paints in your Magic Fibo. So I'll be giving you an opportunity to get it in class, and I'll show you how to add it in class tomorrow. And then if not, I'm going to redo another install. And then when you reinstall the software, you'll have it. But the Magic Fibo now matches the Magic Fibo in our NinjaTrader platform as well. So they all look the same. And then in TradingView, they all going to look the same. So with that, take care. God bless you. I'm humbled and honored to be your mentor instructor. Join us again tomorrow. That's it. That's all.